But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to CVRcade World Cup. I am Beth York, and I'm sitting in here on Zone T of the final week here. Last Saturday, we had the bracketed finale, and we're going to have the grand finale this Saturday and Sunday tournament where everyone is going to go 8-up racing, and it's going to be just a tournament, a couple days. We had 1 day, 7 hours on Saturday, and we have more hours to come on this weekend. So tonight, the racers are actually going to be practicing the first of an 8 race omnium that they'll be facing off on the weekend. So we have Electronic Rush, which is what people are warming up on right now. It is our low skill event for the night, so it'll be a one-time multiplier. And you can see that we'll have Quantum Shift available on all the time as an ability, Uncrashable as an ability, and One Comeback Kid as a power-up. After this race, we're going to move it on to Echelon, and we have Wind Out on course, and that's going to kind of throw a little bit of a spanner in the works if people aren't too mindful, but people are going to be trying different things. What we saw in the earlier zones were people experimenting with the power-ups, with the wind, to see the best lane positioning on Echelon. After Echelon, we move on to Lakeview Lanes, one of the newer courses that not everyone has raced. We learned in the earlier zones, K and L, that some of the racers have only practiced on it a little bit and maybe raced on it 1 or 2 times. So there'll be a lot of practice that we're seeing tonight. And then, of course, some racers are taking the night off to kind of see how the Omniums play out. After that, we're going to finish up on our favorite fantastic Alien Sea with a two-time multiplier for that race as well. But we've got just over 2 minutes to go. Let's check in with some of our racers. We've got Daniel. We've got Jennifer. We've got Vanessa. We've got Louise. Is Jennifer available for a quick couple words off the top here?
Yeah, hi guys.
Hey. Hi, Jennifer. How are you feeling after this weekend's racing? Congratulations on your strong effort, by the way. You were awesome out there.
Yeah, thank you. I think I finally put myself up to contend with some of these other really strong and skilled racers. So I'm really excited tonight just to get the practice in for this next upcoming weekend, which is even bigger. It's the grand finale. So really looking forward to that. Running a little low. I didn't get any sleep last night because I was up taking care of my sick doggo. So we'll see how the legs feel, but
Well, conserve what you need, practice what you need. It was awesome to see you go toe-to-toe with some of the best in the game. So I'm excited for you for this weekend and also for tonight's racing. So good luck to you. We also have Daniel in the broadcast. I know that he is coming to us. Hey, Daniel, Team Cognition, welcome. Just over a minute to go. How are you feeling tonight? Oh, I think he might be frozen up. And that is the risk that we take. Sometimes the internet connection, we just don't have control over that. And that is okay. We do have Aaron in the broadcast, just under a minute to go. He's always good for a quick couple of words. Hey, Aaron, congratulations to you for this weekend's racing. How are you feeling coming into tonight?
I'm feeling okay. I just need to work on my endurance. So I'm going to try to finish every race and just see how it plays out. I know most of these maps fairly well. So we're just going to see how it goes. Just got to try not to die and hope for the best.
All right. Well, good luck to you, Aaron. It's nice to see you out on course. Again, tonight is more about practicing what they're going to be facing in the Omnium on this weekend. So maybe a racer is going to go hard in one course and a little ease back on the other. We had quite a lot of fun and distracted and off on crazy tangents in the earlier zones in terms of conversation. So we might meander a little bit. We might do that. But here we are on Electronic Rush, 1.8 kilometers in this racing 3-2-1, and we are out of the gate. Not a surprise
Hey,
here.
Beth.
Jennifer, Kim are on there. Do I hear Frank in the broadcast?
You do. I
Well,
decided to make it a long day, but I'll certainly let you call this race. It looks like we're out to a hot start. I think Kim Fairchild wants to take his first race today. I joked earlier that it would be something less than 297, races. So I think he's out to show me that it's going to be something less than that.
Well, we did see him do well with a battle of the developers in the earlier races tonight, which was really fun to see. So I'm glad to have him back in the pen here. We've got Aaron in the front here, 1.2 kilometers to go. You were in the broadcast on the earlier racing. People were conserving, people were testing things out here. What do you think about this course? Have people got it pretty much dialed in? We've done this one a lot in the bracketed session.
Well, earlier today, we had a race. The top 4 people were all within 12 one-thousandths of a second. The second through fourth were 2 one-thousandths of a second separation. And Timothy claims he's got the timing calibrated down to the thousandth of a second. So there you go. People claim to have it dialed in. Oh, and it looks like we've just had right before the Kim Fairchild win. It looks like we've had a little bit of glitch in the system here.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsies. So we'll start up the next event so people can join that one up.
Well, that will just be a mystery. Luis was activating his power up. You can see him then realize that he does have the nearby riders disappear. That is okay. We'll get ourselves queued up into Echelon. Now, Echelon is one. We actually did Rise and Rip on Echelon on Monday. So the folks that joined, we even had wind out on course. And it was unbeknownst to me that this was going to be one of the Omniums, but I was pretty psyched to be able to ride it with some of the riders in their practice. Kind of showed off today with Homer in the earlier Omnium.
Yeah, and they should also start the next event. Everyone should start the next event. Just letting them know. You got 3.5 minutes to get there.
Yes. Okay. The next event. Oh, it looks like we have. I hope I'm in the right one. For just over 4 minutes to get to the next event. So we are moving on to Echelon. So go ahead and leave the current event that you're in for Electronic Rush and head on over to Echelon. We do have wind out on course. We have one weight lifted and we have Razor's Edge. And this is one, Frank, we did a lot of testing when this first came, when we first started on this course, using the wind and getting to the inside of the rider and tucking in from the wind, not just behind in the draft, but to the side of riders. I know I was practicing that a little bit earlier today. So I imagine we're going to see more of that lane positioning here.
Yeah, this course looks deceptively simple, right? It's just a straight out, and then I've got too many comms going here. Let me mute some people. But
you go ahead, and I'll take you. I'll come back.
I'm good. I was just
okay.
But anyway, this is interesting in the sense that it's 2 very long straights and 2 tight corners, and so it looks simple, and you get these big long straightaways where you can do a lot of drafting. But those corners are tight, very easy to slide out and crash in these corners. And then with this huge crosswind, we've got a 14 kilometer per hour crosswind. Boy, you really feel that in the legs. But if you get in a good drafting position, it's huge on this course.
It is, and you can see that we were testing out some of this earlier, and on the side you can get 30-40% where if you're directly behind, you're missing out on sometimes almost 20% of the drafting here. We can see here Luis is warming up. Luis, are you available for a quick word?
Yeah.
Hey. Welcome.
Hey.
I know you had a chance to race on Saturday and you're back at it. So Team Cognition, are we going to light up some fireworks this weekend? What's Team Cognition saying going into the weekend?
Yeah. We were just chatting last night with Daniel and Marty, just doing some practice. I know Daniel got the switch controls So
Nice.
he's getting ready for the weekend. So yeah, I think these practice races are going to be good. I think both Daniel and I need a lot of practice. We got to watch our speeds on the corners and stuff, and kind of better understanding of the strategies of the other teams too, to make sure we defend ourselves well. So yeah, exciting. Should be a fun weekend.
Well, wonderful. I know that you are in a good position with your teammates. We're going to be doing 8-up racing instead of 4-up racing. So there's going to be, I think, a more opportunity for some dynamics. Have you raced on Echelon before? I'm not sure. This has been a little bit out of rotation. Have you raced on this course before?
I have, but not. Well, this is a medium skill, I think, today. I may have done it once before, but all the other times have been no skill events. So I gotta watch out for the corner speeds on this one for sure.
Yes. Well, we're just under 1 minute to go. Good luck to you. Remember, this is for practice. So ride fast and take chances. That's what we're doing tonight, is riding fast and taking chances. We do have Vanessa out on course. She's not on camera, but she is racing. I think she raced one of the earlier Omniums as well. Aaron is also in the broadcast tonight, just over 30 seconds to go. Aaron is the just pedal and do a little steering and don't die. Yep, that's the strategy. Yep, I'm going to not come to you 30 seconds before the race. But Aaron has the earthquake power up, queued up and ready for this race. 15 seconds to go. Kim Fairchild in there. Jennifer Garcia. Kayla also looks like she has joined this one. So good luck, everyone. They're lined up. 7 seconds to go. They're going to come out of the gate. Quantum shift for the first 10 seconds. And then it is a high skill event, as he did say. And that means that you can crash. So Daniel up right in the front here, letting Louise grab his wheel. Jennifer also up front. Kim and Aaron. So this course, 6 kilometers. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Beth. We should say hello to Channel 1. Got a lot of viewers. They're watching the action on this sort of water world, if you will. You see the wind particles in play here. You've got Daniel LeBlanc here on the front, sort of doing a big attack. It's going to be hard for him to stay away for the full duration. And we've got Kim in here. I'm really pulling for him. This is a little bit longer race for him, but we'll see if he can, sort of stay with the pack and get his win here. But my money's on Jennifer and Aaron, who have a little bit of teamwork, and teamwork will matter on this course this evening.
Well, we do, and this is Aqua Velo, and it's an out and back course with 2 hairpin corners here. All of the racers are riding on smart trainers on real bikes. They're driving pedal from the power on their pedals that's being translated into the game, and it's moving their avatar on screen. So these riders are going to be feeling the efforts in their legs as they pedal through. They do have a couple power-ups in play on this race here. They have Razor's Edge and Weightlifted. Those two supers will
Kim goes down.
Oh no, Kim!
So
did you curse them?
There goes his chances. We gave him the commentator's jinx, and out the back he goes. And we should mention to the Channel 1 viewers, it's great. It escaped me that we should explain what's going on here in physical esports as opposed to just sort of your standard esports. These people are in a $25,000 tournament. The victor takes home. The winner this weekend takes $5,000 alone this weekend. And you see here a futuristic, we have themes, we have mountain biking, we have road biking, and these are our sci-fi themes. We have a lot of fun here on CVRcade. We are a game, and we embrace that fully. Power-ups or supers, as a lot of people call them. And so a lot of fun here that we have. And I am now looking to Jennifer and Aaron to complete the victory. Daniel could be in a world of hurt here, as he's sandwiched between some players.
Well, when you look at the equalized heart rate now, if you are watching the broadcast here, on the right-hand side are the list of players, and there's a bunch of data that tells you the physiological expense of that effort. So Daniel, right now, 198 on his heart rate, and the max that the game will register is 200. So all of these riders' heart rates, whether it's 180 is your max or 190 is your max, we're all equalized on the heart rate to 200. So you can kind of compare how you're doing. So you can see Jennifer spending a little bit less at 182, Aaron at 174. So they're able to conserve and draft a little bit more in the game. So Daniel is really spending a lot here. Side by side, you see Luis, Team Cognition on the left-hand side, Jennifer on the right-hand side. The two of these racers raced Saturday for a more than $5,000 prize pool. They are serious racers, serious contenders. And tonight, it's not really about points. Right now, they're racing a 4-race omnium that is practice for the grand finale. And as Frank had said, thousands and thousands of dollars for this weekend's competition.
Yes, absolutely. We are, seeing that Aaron and Jennifer playing the team game here. I happen to know they have a relationship in real life, so they're also, good teammates in that regard, on and off the courses. And it'll be interesting to see how they strategize, what tactics they use to get one of them across the line first, and to hold off Daniel at the end, who I think looks to want this badly.
He does. And I think right now I'm also seeing Aaron and Jennifer and Luis sort of practice their side by side. And I happen to remember from racing it earlier that the wind is coming cross wind on this course. So depending on which way, where they are on a course, if they're on the left side, you're getting a draft on one way down, and on the right hand side, you're getting more of a draft on the other way down. So I think when I look at their power, that's sort of reflected in terms of their positioning as they were coming around that corner.
Yes.
It does look
sorry,
like now that Aaron needs that. Nope. It does look like Aaron is trying to close that gap on that corner. I think that we had a little bit of speed differential around the corner. So the other thing that these racers are also testing, because this has been out of rotation for a little bit, is they're testing the corner speed. So if you do exceed the corner speed, you will slide out and possibly crash. And I think everyone is trying to see what they can do and be a little bit more conservative. On a race like tonight where points aren't on the line, I just say drive fast and take chances and, see what you do.
Yeah, push the limits, test things out, find out what those corner speeds are when you're on the rivet. As I said, my IQ goes down as my heart rate goes up, and so you really got to sort of remind yourself in that state how to be.
Right, and we haven't really seen any of these power-ups being executed. So perhaps people have an idea of how they want to use them, if they're going to save them at the end. Daniel's still pushing over 300, 400 equalized watts, hanging on to that lead, really pushing. And I know that we did hear that Luis said he had the new controllers. So I wonder if he's just sort of, deciding to, kind of test out his controllers, make sure he gets comfortable with those at high speed, at a high heart rate. But really, Jennifer, Aaron, and Luis are working really nicely together here with the crosswind here. And I think, is this a headwind? I'm looking at my all of these racers have a little compass.
Yeah, yes, it's a crosswind. Yeah, so when you're on the start line, which is on the sort of the apex of that corner, it looks like a headwind. And so you do go into a headwind as you go for the sprint. But these long straights are a hard crosswind, and you see Jennifer and Aaron really using that to their advantage. So because you get the full blocking profile of the cycle and the body, you get even better drafting in the crosswinds. And so, you really tend to see some big numbers if you're doing it right. And I certainly see that occurring here.
And the sensation, I can say from racing earlier, the sensation is really,
really
Daniel
remarkable. Has gone down. Now he might have a big enough lead.
Oh no! up out of the saddle, I'm sure. 700 equalized watts, trying to hold on to the lead. I mean, now he's working really hard here. I think much harder than he needs to, even with that crash. He has, more than a 40-second lead on the chase pack, who doesn't really look like they're coming up hot on the heels. He must be part of his longer term strategy of maybe testing his legs out, just pushing hard in every single race just to see what he feels like, so he knows where he might want to conserve on Saturday. But he's got 0.7 kilometers to go. It'll be interesting to see if he does use any of his power-ups. There goes Aaron with his power-ups, puts weightlifted and razor's edge together where you get acceleration. So he's coming out of the corner. You can see his speed come up to 52, 54 kph. Looks like Luis decides to answer as well. 65, 69, 72 kph. Luis is coming in fast. Whoa, like a rocket on the outside. This is something to test. Jennifer says, oh, no, you don't, Luis. You were drafting the whole time. You just take our wheel and then take off. I'm coming to get you. Here I come. And Jennifer goes ahead and she gets within 1 second and comes around him like a rocket. And she has that speed. So both of these guys, 62, 60 kph for Jennifer on the front. With Luis on her heels at 48 kph. So we can see that Daniel is going to cross the line and take the win on this. But between Jennifer and Luis, it's a 2 second, 3 second. It looks like Luis might be letting her go. Jennifer does have to slow down when she gets to the corner. She knows that. And so does Luis. So maybe he's counting on that differential for maybe him to slingshot. Nope, it doesn't look like he's going to do it. 66 watts. He's going to just kind of coast to the end and take that position in front of Aaron. But that was the racers, I think, learned something there, Frank, with those two power-ups on that final straightaway.
Absolutely, and I think this is interesting. I like what Daniel was doing, obviously putting in a hard effort. But again, remember I was saying you need to sort of test how you perform because your IQ goes down as your heart rate goes into the hurt locker zones. And he crashed in the corner. But now he has that experience, right? He knows to be a little bit more careful coming this Saturday when the big dollars are on the line, and you'll see that come into the skill play this weekend. So and kudos, obviously Jenna, Luis, and Aaron all putting the hammer down and getting into the hurt locker zone.
Yep, and what we saw there on that final was Aaron made the first attack, dropped both of his power-ups, opened it up, made Luis answer while Jennifer was letting Luis chase, but Luis came by at such a fast clip. Jennifer had her power-ups there in the bank and was able to go ahead and fire hers away and slingshot around Luis and take second place. And then Luis decided that he had spent as much as he wanted to, and then he took third place. So here you see Jennifer on that final finish here. There's on the instant replay where she's got her. This is towards the end here. She already used those power-ups. She saw that she had the lead, and she just comes across the line after Daniel took that.
Classic gameplay there. Classic cycling gameplay. When you're 2 against 1, the first attacks, the other, the odd man, the odd person out has to cover, and then when they pull your teammate back, you counterattack over the top while they're already tired. You got to ride their wheel back up, and Aaron and Jennifer pulled that to perfection.
That was really nice to see. So I don't know if Daniel's internet. So here we'll go to Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer, nice finish on Echelon. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Daniel, shout out to him. I mean, there was like a chance in the beginning for us to catch him as a group. And I think we all were just like, damn. He just took it off there. And I mean, he got up to like a 30 or 40 second gap without any drafting on like a decently long course. So shout out to him.
Well, yeah, he did have in his mind that he was not going to let you guys catch. I saw you guys working on some teamwork there, working on the drafting and the echelon there. Was that part of your strategy? Was to sort of dial that proximity in?
Yeah, we didn't know what we were gonna do going into it, but it always plays out in the game. And once we all got together, like Aaron was saying in my ear, like, oh, let Luis in, like we can all do it. We didn't want to like duke it out from when there was still 6 kilometers left. So we kind of all worked as a unit, and then there at the end we had our little sprints So it worked out to plan once we knew what the plan was, once we were in game. But we don't have too much pregame strategizing unless my dad's there to help, and I know he's broadcasting. So hello, Dad.
Well, he said you played it to perfection. We had the attack. We're just over 30 seconds to go, but we had that attack by Aaron and made Luis answer, and then you came around and continued and finished it to the finish line. So congratulations on that team play. Just over 30 seconds to go. We have Vanessa, Luis, Aaron, and looks like Anisha's in here. Kim is back in the mix. Lakeview Lanes, one of the tracks that we've only raced a handful of time. We do have wind out on course, which is always a challenge. It is a higher skill event, 5 laps. Power up, 1 wind at your back, 1 uncrashable, and 3 path of least resistance. And in 5 seconds to go, we'll see if anyone does play those out of the gate or if they save it a little bit further on down the way. So earlier today on Lakeview Lanes, we did see an early break in one of the zones, but people were really pushing, I think, harder on this course. I think to your point, Frank, to test what it feels like to take these corners, with some speed, with path of least resistance. Whoa! And then Daniel goes down. That's rough.
So what you see here, you definitely have to think ahead on these courses. So you have the obstacles in the road, and you saw Daniel sort of go into panic mode there. You're leaning in a corner. It's hard to tell exactly which lane you're in. It's hard to, figure it out. So you start moving back and forth. And once you start that back and forth maneuver, you just basically have to get lucky to go through. That's what you're hoping for. Unfortunately, Daniel out the back there, he ate some concrete. That's never a good thing.
No, we did see that in the earlier zones too. We've got Jennifer out in front with Anish and Kim not coming far behind. Here we are on board with Luis as well, just a little bit further on down. Now this one too, I thought earlier we'd have more grouping with the riders here, but it does look like we're quite stretched out here. Jennifer on the front, so she's going to be feeling that in her legs, deciding is if Aaron is going to be able to close that 10-second gap. He does have a couple of the AI riders in between, but you have to watch those wheels because they are not aware of the obstacles, and you can be riding their wheel and ride square into one of the barriers here. This is another high skill course, not just because of the multiplier, but with the wind but if you're not thinking about what lane you want to be in before you get to the obstacle, when there is traffic, that's when you're going to run into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. We see Kim here on the hunt, and probably everybody doesn't know Kim's story, but Kim started the game not too long ago, and he got on, and his first thought was, "Wow, that is we're talking real exercise here," which I got a chuckle. Kim is comes from the gamer community versus the cycling community, and he's yet to have his first win on Cade, and he's in the hunt here. And he rode earlier today, so Kim is really getting fit. Cade is compelling him. He wants that first win badly. And earlier today, and there he did it again. Yes, he did. I was going to say, but earlier today, he was in the hunt and he ate concrete. And he missed the concrete this time, but he ate the, I don't know what those are, red gas can, red barriers. And my heart just breaks for him. And he's going to use his power-ups to try and get back. But he's chasing Jennifer now. Hello, daughter. And so everybody knows my bias. But I don't think Jenna's going to let him back. Jenna's going to be like, you know what? Your first win has got to be a real win. And so you're going to have to go into the hurt locker to bring me back. And I also happen to know that Jennifer likes winning. So, and she did well in the last race, but she was behind Daniel, and so I think she wants to put up a number 1 on the scoreboard tonight.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with liking to win, Frank. So I'm love to watch her competitive spirit here on display in the game here. But she does have a 10-second gap.
Kim goes down again, trying to get onto a wheel. Oh, I feel for him. I don't know why I'm laughing. That's just awful. But I will be razzing Kim, I think, all day tomorrow. He's one of the developers, helps us out on CVRcade. That's, put a tremendous amount into the game. A lot of what you see, Kim has done, and we'll be razzing him in the meetings tomorrow.
Well, it is, as you said, the pressure of, his fitness is coming up. He's getting more exercise, but he definitely has his heart rate elevated. And if you're not used to making those decisions and also learning the course and what the corner speeds are, and I didn't really see a lot of crashing because of the corner speeds. I think people were in earlier zones making sure that they didn't use their path of least resistance in the corners. So I think people understand when not to use those. But this is the time you can test it. Ooh, oh no, that was a different play. But this is the time when you can test the wind and the path of least resistance.
Yes, I think Kim was actually trying to talk to me just there in, sort of the in-game audio, which I'm ignoring today. So, Kim, I'm not ignoring you on purpose. I just keep muting you every time you talk to me because I'm doing the broadcast. And, he was talking about corner speeds and just the skill of the game, right? So this is a great story in that first Kim needed to get a little bit of physical fitness, right? The endurance to be able to ride a full race. You're equalized and your power is equalized, but you've got to maintain it for a while. And so you got to sort of build up a little bit of stamina in order to be able to just finish a race, right? So to speak. And then you're like really excited because you're hanging out with everybody, and then bam, you crash, into a barrier. Bam, you crash in the corner because of corner speeds. And he's talking about that. He's like, oh, I need to know what this corner speed is, and I need to know what that corner speed is, and I need to check my rear view mirrors before I switch lanes. And we've all made this mistake early on. You're on the rivet, you're tired, you've just crashed, you're trying to get back, and someone comes by you, and you're like, oh, thank you. I get to thank God and follow a wheel, right? And I want to get on that wheel right away. And you move to get in that wheel right away, and you forget to check that there's somebody already on that wheel, just maybe a half a bike length back, and bam, you go down because you crashed into somebody. And that's what makes CVRcade fun, right? All these things you've got to concentrate on, all these things that you've got to learn. And then when you learn them, you have this skill advantage over other players in the game.
And it does take time. I think that, it can be underestimated, the complexity of it, because as you look at it, you're like, oh, it's riding a bike and changing lanes. But the complexity of it and the dynamics within the game make it very challenging within split second decisions here. But it does look Luis here has closed the gap to Jennifer. So he did not back off. It looked like he was going to maybe be back a little bit. I think at one point he had a 20-second gap back. So he has done a little bit of an effort to get back here. Not so much that his heart rate's still 181. So, I mean, it cost him some, but a strategic use of a power up perhaps that got him back here. But coming into this corner here, 6.8 kilometers ago, and then it becomes undone. Oh, no. Oh, no.
So Lakeview Lanes is deceptively, you look at these and you're like, no, it's not that hard, right? I mean, come on. He could go to the left. He could go to the right. But for some reason, these barriers, well, not for some reason, the way that they designed it, these barriers often come on a corner, and you lean in the corners in CVRcade. And so it starts to become hard to know exactly what lane you're in unless you're very, very confident of it. And we just see this happening all the time where people just make the mistake around a corner. Luis, had come back and was setting up, Luis and Jennifer often in Zone T going at it. And it looked like it was setting up to be one of those. Now it's Daniel and Jennifer as well. But it's sneaky. It's sneaky hard, Lakeview Lanes is.
It really is, and it does look like Daniel, despite having a couple crashes himself, is back to Jennifer, and Jennifer might be just doing just enough, saying, "Okay, well, I see him coming back. I've been working on the front. Maybe I can benefit a little bit from drafting Daniel, and save a little of my legs in this, halfway through the racing here. If you're going to make that huge effort to get up to me, I'm going to use your wheel, perhaps. And again, there's crosswinds on this one. I remember racing it earlier today, and on the final straight, one of the final straights here, you had a nice tailwind, and it was like, whoo, that feels so much better. But if you did position yourself to the left or the right in that cross, it's almost, it feels, you can really feel it in your legs. And I was doing the second omnium, and Niels was not having it. Every time I get even close to him, he would just punch it enough to be like, no, you're not. You're not coming alongside of me, which is a different mentality than trying to shake someone off the rear of your wheel. You see them coming up on the side of you, and you're like, I don't want to give you that. So he was really doing some heads up play. We weren't at the front of the pack, so it wasn't being picked up on stream, but it's happening throughout in all these mini races that are happening downstream from the front riders.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see Jennifer sort of hanging back here, a little bit of a gap. You want to get as close as you can to the rider in front of you. But that also gets a little bit nerve-wracking as you go through corners, because if you slide out in the corner, that can cause you issues, right? But this is very interesting. Daniel's heart rate way up there. I think he's definitely looking to play some mind games and sort of stamp his authority on what he's looking to do, this weekend, right? And Jennifer, we see here starting to enter the Hurt Locker. This is the long event, and so this will definitely put some hurt on the legs, both today and again on Saturday.
And again, it is. We've had a couple of the longer races on this, and it starts to look. If you're not completely attentive and watching where you are on the mini map, you start to go, wait, is the next obstacle split this way, or is this the one that's in the middle? I know that many of the racers teams keep maps, and you do the prep work, and know specifically what corner they're in. But when you get, this is 5 laps, you get 3 or 4 laps in, you're like, wait, did I just come to that corner? And you start to second guess yourself. So as much confidence as you can have knowing the course, not just the corner speeds, not just, but like there's the tree, and there's that particular, the rock, and there, you really do need to make these landmark so that your eyes can kind of remember where you are on course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other, so we're talking about just sort of the track gameplay. Then there's the Omnium gameplay that comes into the mix, which you kind of see here. So, Jennifer could be like, this Saturday, if I, sort of go hard on Echelon and then go hard in this long race, that's 3 out of 5 races that I'm doing this weekend, I might be done for the rest of the 5 races. And so, maybe I conserve a little bit of energy. Let me see how that's working. And, she might be just deciding that there isn't the score multiplier isn't high enough to bury herself here. And then, of course, you've got team cognition. She knows that, it's 2-on-1. And so she's at a disadvantage anyway. Maybe she just decides to, ride to third place. She get quite a bit of points for third place as well, and save up for the later events. So there's all these layers of gameplay that happen in CVRcade, and that people can think about, strategize, manipulate, and excel at.
Yeah, and and again, despite this one being flat, the wind out on course is relentless on your legs, and that's one thing that you'll see it translate into some of their speeds. And at least on this backside of the course, I wasn't really as worried I was worried I could slide out on the backside less than on the front side of the course of the corners. So move. Sorry.
Louise goes down, and you see the hands to the face, the proverbial, the cliche face plant there.
Yes.
And, sometimes, that can happen as well. So Jennifer just sort of keeping it cool, bides her time. And now she's back in the mix. Maybe she gets a second instead of a third. I know that they're going to go toe-to-toe for that as well. But, boy, Lakeview Lanes is just surprisingly sneaky. As sort of the analyst commentator, it really, you just look at this course and you're like, nope, there's not going to be that many crashes. And there are just an amazing amount of crashes for this wide open a course that's just got a few barriers, right? They're long. But going into those barriers, really, people seem to do that quite frequently.
Yeah, and I feel like too, there's a couple spots of danger, and one is in that first that sprint out of the gate here that you see here. This is not their first lap. This is their last lap. But you're trying to get that inside lane, and you have quantum shift, and everyone's jockeying position, and it's crowded, and then you have to be deciding where you want to be, because before you get here, quantum shift is off, and if you've not set you're going to be having a problem there on that first obstacle. And the first time I raced it, that's what I saw. I just found myself in the wrong spot with the congestion. So as soon as you can, when you come out of the gate on that one, you do need to be knowing where you want to be and then not changing it because there's too much congestion here. But Daniel, out in front, Jennifer here, just a few seconds back from Luis. The opposite of what we had on the last race. It had Jennifer and Aaron, two teammates, and Luis, and now Luis has Daniel up at the front. But they're not able to work together because there's a little bit of a gap there with Luis's crash. But it does look like they are going to take one or two, because I'm not sure Jennifer, with 1.5 kilometers to go, is going to try to make up those 10 seconds. I know I wouldn't. I'll take third.
You can see on her equalized heart rate, she's just riding to the finish. She'll take third. She'll take the points and save the energy. Now, it'll be interesting in the next race, the last race of this evening, will be to see. She's got to kind of test the legs, kind of test to see how she responds after a long race that she's taking easy. So that'll be interesting to see. As well. Now, for my money, the event organizing committee, set up too much wind in the beginning events, which we're testing here. So the first 4 events that will occur this Saturday. And then the second half of these events, we go from all this wind and I think some of these separated courses and sort of deadening the legs. And then we go to sort of no wind courses. So that's going to be a very interesting dynamic. Everybody's going to be sort of, have their wind hat on at the beginning of Saturday. And, a little bit of event organizing here has been kind of evil, because you're going to get into the wind and then you're going to do Thursday and there's going to be no wind and you're going to switch off the wind thing. And then you're going to start Saturday with the wind again. So really seeing who can do the mental aspects of the game looks to me like what the event committee was doing.
Well, yeah, and I know that with wind at your back as a power up, as an ability, is also very tricky on course. So sometimes you're like, oh, I'd rather have wind at my back than a headwind or a crosswind, and I'm just like, maybe not. It maybe makes a flat course feel like it's a little bit steeper with the wind. But Daniel uses his power up with that 0.2 200 meters to go here. Luis is going to finish about 10 seconds behind him. He does finish off with a power up. You do see that everyone is kind of dumping their power ups here at the end. Daniel uses the uncrashable as well, coming around that corner, which is a wise play. Again, it does look like Daniel has come out to play in terms of strategy and practicing like he plays. Luis is going to come across the line here as well, and just kind of rolling it in, knowing he has enough of a lead on Jennifer. He doesn't have to sprint it to the end, but and then Jennifer will be coming through on third. So it does look like Daniel is giving himself a lot of challenges and testing himself, maybe just to know what it's going to feel like to go hard in the first 4 races on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. He's definitely going to recover before the weekend. Probably a little bit of taper. I expect the racing on Thursday to be really tactical, with not a lot of people Maybe one hard effort is something people will do on Thursday, but I don't expect people to be going long and deep on Thursday at all as they save up for the big fireworks that'll be happening on Saturday.
Exactly. And I, here we are. As we look at the replay here, we can see the power-ups being deployed at the end, the wind, the path of least resistance, and then he carried it also into the corner with uncrashable to be able to play that. He had an extra. There were 3 path of least resistance that were offered in this case. Then he go ahead and drop that uncrashable to make sure he doesn't slide out, because with path of least resistance on a corner, you're going down. So that was well played there by Daniel. And then he uses the, looks like he uses Razor's Edge there, 1, 2, 3 at the end. So congratulations to Daniel on that course. We did have a little bit of team play with Luis, but Luis did have a couple crashes that did separate. I think that in Team Cognition's mind, it probably would have been better if they could have stayed together and worked on some of the wind. We did that earlier with my teammate in the Zone K. We were really trying to see what it felt like to take turns and really put ourselves in the right position with the crosswinds and stuff and see what that felt like. So a couple unfortunate crashes there. I mean, it doesn't cost them any points. It doesn't really have any bearing, but it does affect what type of practice they can get in the game. And I know Daniel's internet isn't very good, so we really can't get to a post-game interview, but we can talk to his teammate. Is Luis maybe available here as we watch the replay? Hey, Luis.
Hi.
Hi. So a couple spots on course that did catch you. We were calling it eating concrete. I hope you're okay.
Yeah. So it's funny because I actually like Lakeview lanes because I can get on a, I don't know, state of mind where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the hurt locker and kind of just push. But I just zoned out there. I was looking at my rearview mirror and I didn't see anyone. I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I didn't realize I was actually the front. I was actually doing the front. So anyway, and then I just see the concrete on my face. So, just try to stay on top. Like what Frank was saying, when you're in the zone, just gotta try to stay aware of what's going on around you, not just like pedal like a crazy person.
Yeah, it is one that does lull you because it can feel almost like a time trial on that course. But now carrying it in, just under 3 minutes to go, carrying it into fantastic Alien Sea. We've got 3 laps, more wind on course, 1 Razor's Edge, 1 path of least resistance, and 1 inertia. How do you see yourself the race playing out with that combination of power-ups?
Yeah, inertia, I think it's very useful. If you use kind of some of, Frank's strategies of, if you go hard at the beginning, since you start with a climb, you get a good speed, inertia could be useful to get a gap. And then, if you're willing to suffer for 3 laps here, and then if you combine it, with Razor's Edge, I think it could be a good combo.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, you could. Sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, you go.
Yeah, so you could either do it right at the beginning, or depending on how you see your opponent, see how their heart rate, and if you're feeling fresh, maybe on the second lap or even third lap, depending on how the race is going. So it's a nice combo.
Well, just under, good luck to you in this race, just under 1.5 minutes to go. We've got Daniel in there with you, so I'm sure we'll see some team play. We've got Aaron and Jennifer also being able to do some team play with just over 1 minute to go. I'm sure they're talking tactics and strategies, so I won't get in their head while they're trying to focus on that. But with 3 laps on Fantastic Alien Sea on Saturday, this will be the 4th race of 8 for these racers. So at this point, 3 laps of Fantastic Alien Sea on a day that you haven't had 3 races, behind you and 4 more ahead of you is brutal enough. So it'll be interesting to see what racers pick what races that suit them. And we say this a lot in the Omniums, that each of the races and the tracks kind of suit different race styles. So there's high skill events and lower skill events. There's, power events. And Fantastic Alien Sea is one of those that actually is kind of a mixture of both. It does require power because if you look at the profile, you've got that climb on the front. You do have a couple spots at the top where it flattens out, where you can make attacks. We see attacks happen. So with 9 seconds to go, we're going to come out of the gate here. You can see Aaron here on screen in conversation with his teammate Jennifer here in 3, 2, 1. They are out of the gate here on the front of the pack. You can see Luis is coming out strong, but Jennifer is not going to let him get away there. The first 10 seconds, they do have quantum shift. And Frank, what do you think we're going to see? You watched these races earlier today. I raced in one of them, Fantastic Alien Sea. What did we learn from our earlier Omniums?
Well, this one, I think a lot of people look to save some energy already for Saturday. This is a tough race, especially considering coming off of the long race on Lakeview Lanes. You've got climbs in this one. And so, you certainly feel that in the legs. And, I think perhaps the event, committee is trying to psych people out in the first 4 events. Because think about what's going to happen this Saturday. The top 12 advance directly to Sunday. Everybody else goes into a loser's bracket, and they are doing the first event on Sunday. And the top 4 from that event earn their way back into the grand finale. But what we see here is 8 Omniums, and you just have to be in the top 12. It'll be very interesting. Now, seeding also plays a role, but it'll be very interesting just to see people. I think the real tension will be the people who are in, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th on Saturday morning as they jockey for position to be into the top 12.
Right, exactly. And I think that that's going to allow for more teamwork where, you're not just trying to get the, spots 1, 2, 3. We're going to see some teamwork and taking away points from other players depending on the racing. So the leaderboard is going to be really important to keep an eye on here. So we can see that Luis is on the front. Daniel is just a few seconds behind. Kim is also pushing up towards the front here. 400 equalized watts. Maybe he got a little rest on the last one and says, this is the one I'm going to try to work on, because you can see his heart rate's coming up. Not quite as high as Daniel's. Daniel's still 194 here. But these guys, it does look like Luis is pushing quite significantly on the front.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you'll see from Kim here is maybe he gets down to the bottom, and if he doesn't make any mistakes and crash in any of the corners, because this is a treacherous descent, can definitely, some of the corners at the very bottom are tight, and we see a lot of people go down there. But if he makes it through there, maybe he sprints and uses his power-ups, more towards getting up speed on the uphill. Now, you have to be careful because that first corner, this is whoever designed this track is devious. I think Ellison Kabuto, one of our regular racers, built this track using Track Builder. But and so that corner, which you normally are not even anywhere near, crash speed on that corner. If you're going hard and you pop an inertia and you pop a weight lifted and weight lifted first and then get up to speed, then pop the inertia, and then it all goes away when you hit that corner and you go down because you're going way faster than you normally would be going uphill. So you got to get kind of by that corner, but once you do that, if you can really sort of wind up the speed and use an inertia, you can really gain a lot of ground.
And it does look like Daniel has closed that few seconds gap to Luis here. So we can see if we're going to see some team play. And no, Luis just does slide out on that corner. corner there. So maybe that's intentional, because I know when I'm trying to push the edge of tracks and figuring out what speed I enter at and what speed I might be exiting at, because both matter, because oftentimes we want to accelerate through a corner. At least I know I do. I slow down before and try to accelerate through. So he could have been just testing some of the corner speeds here and with his teammate side by side just to see what would happen. But he did take it a little too hot. Slid. Looks like there was either they slid into each other, but it just, Kim with his power-ups, I think he might have been paying attention to what you were saying, but no.
Oh, but he did it on that first corner. Right. That's the corner I was talking about. You don't think that's going to happen to you. Now he gets lucky because, his power-up didn't expire. So one of the great things about inertia is when you come out of a crash, when the 5-second crash expires, it takes you right back up to speed. That saves you a little bit of energy. But I don't think tonight is going to be Kim's night. So I think we only have like 294 more races to go. I'm going to be keeping a mental count for Kim, as well, till he gets his first victory. But it will come. And we can see that he's getting close to that, and he's just gonna, now he's able to start to learn some of the skill facets of the game, and that will come fairly quickly. Kim's a sharp guy, and he'll pick up on that. But remember, my refrain for today has been when your heart rate goes up, your IQ goes down, and it can really be frustrating. I know Kim also is a little bit egotistical like me and considers himself a smart fellow. It's really humbling when you're like, I thought I heard him right, but I crashed in the exact corner he said I was going to crash in. Like, what was that all about? And I was like, oh yeah, if your heart rate was 75, 80, you'd never make that mistake. But when your heart rate's over 150, it starts to become really easy. And when it's over 190, just count on some of that. When I'm racing, actually, Beth, this is really interesting, and I get into that sort of hurt locker zone, you will actually see I change lanes a lot less. I'll stay outside of the draft. Sometimes I just know at that point I'm more prone to mistakes, and so I make fewer moves than I will when I'm fresh and not in the hurt locker.
Yeah, I see that a lot on Temple Run when we don't have Uncrashable as an ability, because those little twists and turns climbing up, people are less likely to be chasing the inside corner on that. But with the inverse relationship there of your heart rate and IQ. Oh no, another little crash there by Jennifer. But what makes winning, whether it's one race or the Omnium or sometimes just coming in top 5, it's so rewarding because how hard it is, and that's a really interesting thing about CVRcade. I remember like pulling a clip of me like racing for like 5th place, and the Cycling Hub guys are trying to like block me in, and I was like, not gonna happen, and I was so dang determined to like get through, and I did. I threaded the needle. They separated because they were trying to like think I was going to go to the side, and I just punched it down the center and basically turned myself inside out. And I'm just as happy about that sprint as I ever am about like winning a race, because of the skill it took to get it. So once Kim gets over some of those skill things, he's going to find it so rewarding to take that victory lap here. We still have Daniel and Louise on the front here, pushing it 187 on Daniel's heart rate. Louise is a little bit more conservative here. They are a little bit spread out, so they're not really benefiting from the draft here. But where they are in course, they're watching the corner speeds, and then see they slid right out. When you see that happening, they've taken the speed like right on the edge because they don't run out of road. Sometimes you just slide and you run out of road and you go down, which is what happened to Louise on the first lap.
Yes, and I think everybody is testing here. This is a good practice session. Everybody is sort of testing the corner speeds. How fast can I really go? How much can I accelerate? Because sometimes that's what catches you. You know what the corner speed is, but then you get up to sprint out of the corner, and if you do it a little bit too early, then you continue to slide out because you're speeding up as you're exiting the corner. And if you haven't gotten out of the corner in time, then you crash. And where that will really get you is when you're amped in a big race, right? Because you at that point you just put down more power than you normally do without even really sort of thinking about it. Your body's just got the hormones pumping, and so there it goes, and you'll crash. So everybody's sort of pushing it here. You see Luis and Daniel. I think there's an interesting sub story here. We see Team Cognition just wrecking it here, but I don't see Modi, and that's very, very interesting to me. I would have expected Modi to be on course tonight in preparation for this weekend. Maybe he's doing secret preparations, but he was, he's a family first kind of guy. We really love to see that, in terms of, CVRcade and how people approach it. And so he didn't race this past weekend. And it's interesting how that will set him up for the grand finale. He might be a little bit rusty, and we might not get what we expect out of Modi this weekend.
Well, yeah, and I do wonder because I do think that many of the riders are setting up and practicing sort of off the grid to kind of keep their cards close to their chest. But you start to learn what riders do what and how they behave because it's revealing, right? We've seen 8 weeks of racing, and we know, like, oh, this is a spot where I bet Casey's going to attack, and this is a point where, Tim won't use his power up, so because he wants to save him to the end, and so maybe there's an attack there. So, like, what ends up happening here is you start to like get the mode of operation of your competitors, which is really interesting to see. And I think maybe the top riders don't want to reveal much more, particularly Modi, because he always rides for his team, and he might not want to reveal some of their team play.
Yeah, I think it's it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how we develop here. We see that Daniel saved a lot of his power-ups here towards the end, and is definitely moving away easily from Luis here. So it'll be interesting to see if Luis can bring this back together on the tricky descent before the finish.
Yeah, and then there's that one section where it does flatten out before it makes the large right-hand turns. Looks like he dropped his power up there to see how much you can make up of time here. This is a spot where we've seen attacks happen here, razor's edge here. This is the third lap, and if you haven't used them before that at descent, like that's really sort of your last chance to use it, unless you come out of that corner clean and can use it in a sprint. I've seen that happen too, but again, that idea that you're amped, I've done that quite recently, where I just do accelerate through a corner. I lose myself in that moment, as you were describing, and so sometimes if you think you have them and you're like thinking about using the power up, you kind of get distracted. You have to be very methodical with how you use it. But Luis here, I think, has figured out these descent speeds, does know where he wants to be, not really chasing down Daniel, but maybe he'll do something. Oh, that's a surprise. You're like, whoops, path of least resistance there. If you had the uncrashable, that would have been one to pair. You're like, what pairs nice with path of least resistance? Uncrashable. It's like a fine wine. That's okay, Luis. Now you know. I have a feeling that must have been a fat finger there. But Daniel does come across the line. Luis will take second, and Kim just a little bit further back will take third on that. I do, we were talking about the evolution too, Frank, of power-ups. I mean, people have really been playing different combos of power-ups, which I think will be interesting coming into Saturday's racing.
Well, one of the things that we see with power-ups that's really interesting is everybody has the same power-ups. And as game designers, or supers, depending what you like to call them, but as game designers, we were concerned at the beginning that maybe everybody would use these same power-ups in the same way, right? Like everybody would use their wind at the back power-up at the same time, and everybody would. But nope, everybody has philosophies on what makes sense and how to use them. And it's just great to watch that too. Like, oh, he used that there. Like I kind of sense that Luis knew he needed to sort of get up to speed for the sprint, and he was willing to risk, like, if I pop this right here, will I get through the corner and be able to use it to my advantage to get to maximum speed? And what he found out was, he just accelerated a little bit too fast, but that's good knowledge for him coming up this weekend and really beyond. And so, they set up for those types of things. But I do have one very important question as we draw here to a close, and that is, do you eat peeps after commentating?
I do not eat peeps after commentating. I reserve my peep eating. I have to earn my peeps. And here it became quite a conversation today.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. In the earlier zone, we talked a lot of food. I'm not going to talk a lot of food, this evening because I'm hungry, and it's a long time before I will sleep and be able to get up and have some breakfast. But yeah, that was a lot of fun today. We gave you a hard time for your peeps. But actually, I think what's funny is we have everybody from all over the world asking how they can get some. So I guess the joke's on me.
Well, yeah, and it's surprising because I think of it such a staple of the holiday season that it's like, wait, you don't have them where you are? But here we are looking at some of the replay on the final bit of Fantastic Alien Sea. We saw Luis and Jennifer here side by side on the screen, kind of stretched out a little bit in the racing, practicing different maneuvers, practicing different use of power-ups. We did see some work between Daniel and Luis. They got stretched out a little bit, but Luis here using his Razor's Edge power up here on the little straightaway where it's flat before he comes into the corners. He did know that Daniel was ahead, kind of testing the corner speeds, did wreck in a couple of the earlier laps here. He does enter it, but I think inadvertently was just, as we said, could have been learning, and he saw his face. He's like, maybe not. And now he knows he won't do that on Saturday here. So valuable lessons being learned here out on course. But this is CVRcade Racing. This is the warm-up to the grand finale. Do I have the math right? Is it $25,000 for this weekend? What's the number? I know it's been cumulative. 25 for last weekend and this weekend. And what's the total on Saturday, Frank?
The stated amount this Saturday is 10 grand, but we wrap in stuff for unearned bonuses along the way. So I think it's actually up over 12 grand that will accrue this weekend. I'm not exactly sure on the exact number. I'll get that accounting here from the team in a couple of days.
10, 12, yep. A lot of money.
Yeah, winning, we're going to make someone's Christmas that walks away with the win. And for that matter, second, third, fourth, fifth, they're going to be able to buy an awful lot of Christmas presents, or whatever, they desire. But it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend.
Yeah, and all joking aside, when we're saying that these races here, Tuesday and Thursday as practice races, people are taking them very seriously, although we've been having some relaxed fun in the commentating booth, joking and watching the racers experiment in a sort of risk-free environment because points aren't on the line. They, in their mind, very much are preparing for the racing that's going to be happening for that $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 here. You can see here on Electronic Rush here was our first race of the day. Then we moved on to Echelon here where we had a crosswind where we saw some great team play between Aaron and Jennifer, tucking into the draft on the Echelon here, making sure they minded their corner speed. Daniel did get away with it early, and that really left Luis, Jennifer, and Aaron all to work together until the time of the last lap where they said, all right, game over. Time to show us what we're made of. So we had Aaron and Jennifer coming into the last lap. We had Daniel taking the crash. It wasn't enough for him to get overtaken. He did maintain the win, did maintain the lead. But the race was for second, where Aaron made the initial attack with his power-ups. Luis came and bridged the gap, but Jennifer was right there, matching those power-ups, came up over the top, continued it, and carried it across the line after Daniel for second place there, leaving Luis and Aaron and her teammate Aaron behind. But wonderful strategic gameplay there with her teammate out on course for all of those laps on Echelon, 5 laps on Echelon with the crosswind. Then we went to nearly 12 kilometers on Lakeview Lanes, where we haven't raced this one very much, but we did see some crashes with people kind of unexpectedly finding themselves in the wrong lane. You can kind of get lulled into a false sense of that this is a power course and not a technical course, but it like CVRcade, many of the tracks are both require both power and expertise, particularly with the obstacles, particularly with the wind that you see here. But 5 laps was a long race, 2.5 multiplier here, and then it was Jennifer who started at the front of it, and then was overtaken by Luis and Daniel, but Luis kept finding his way into the concrete pylons there. Did have a concrete sandwich a couple times, and again, as he said in his interview, he just was zoning out, looking at his rearview mirror. So constantly these racers are needing to be this awareness behind them, what's to the side of them, what's coming up, so that they don't get caught. We also saw the path of least resistance being used. That will be the same power-up combination that will be in play on Saturday. So a lot of testing here to see where we can use it. And at the end, Daniel played it to perfection. Path of least resistance, did cut through the air, and then again used the second path of least resistance, came into the corner wisely, used the uncrashable to finish it off. Just really sort of showing the gameplay strategy that he may use, or just testing one out, or saying, hey, I'll show everyone this one, but I'll do something completely different on Saturday. Nanny boo boo, I'll show you. So who knows? These guys could be playing, knowing team cognition. They could be doing some advanced play where they're maybe showing what they, we're watching and think what they're going to do, but they actually do something completely different here. Luis here testing the corner speed of Fantastic Alien Sea, and Frank finishing up on Fantastic Alien Sea in one Omnium, but actually being the start of some more intense racing on Saturday. This is going to really hammer the legs of the racers on Saturday.
Absolutely. And then there's seeding, right? So where you finish in that top 12 will make it a little bit easier, or a lot easier for you on Sunday. And so I think people will be going deep and hard and long on Saturday, and then coming back for more of the head-to-head 8-ups on Sunday.
Well, thank you as always for joining me, Frank. It's wonderful to have you in the booth here as we watch the last one, where the look on Luis's face said it all, where he knew that wasn't quite the right move, but decided to take the chance. And this is ride fast, take chances in the practice. This is what we do on the win here. And then we had Aaron here saying his heart. He was saying, my heart, I'm done. But always a good time here. Always so much fun on CVRcade. Thank you for watching us. Be sure to watch on Thursday. We have more practice racing in the lead up to the grand finale of CVRcade, with $10,000 to $12,000 out on offer. Lots of zeros, lots of racing. It's going to be heated. So make sure you like and follow us, and check all the updates on CVRcade riders. And of course, you want to download the game, easy to go do, CVRcade.com, and we'll see you in game, and we'll see you on course on Thursday. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.
But no, Beth, yours goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.